How are we going to get here if we don't see? Then if we're here, are we going to see warning? And if it's actually something to be feared, would it be like decisions themselves are more or less what's on our mind? Like if going that fast is actually blind. But if we can then say that if anything looks this way, then we could bring question into each day to then say that something doesn't want to see it that way. Well, already right there, we're going to come across the notion of seeing it for the first time. Then the question itself becomes one of which is actually more. For at that moment, the moment itself seems to be questioned, right? Except for now, it's like the moment of going around. Which, if we're able to connect the dots to some point of it being the same thought, then it's like, oh, well, then okay, all right. How long am I really going to say that I know what enjoying is? When every single thing that I would then hear is like some sense of being on my inner ear. But if I am to make this something that is sure, then am I not going to go to where I say I hear? Then we could bring in all moments of time travel, wishing to go back, having pie, and eating it too. But really, if you are in the moment, what would you do? So then in saying we're hearing and in seeing something blind, already right there is something to find. Like, if we could just say something else, that itself would be like, oh, this can be a mystery up on the shelf. But funny thing is that mysteries themselves, they seem to be like things in which we'd rather look at until we read. So then we read, and we then think again to ourselves, really, isn't it kind of odd? The ability to hold something up without question. For then try to get into something. Try to get into something that really it's just like you're not that into. Is the book or the film where the money's at? If when we hold up the wrong book, it's like trying to understand how you can hold up your own hand. I mean, we've got arms and muscles and the reason of the brain. And I now wonder, will I go around this too? Or will I use reason to grab onto you? Because it's almost like in every instance we were weaker. We can talk about getting the ball rolling. We can talk about getting the bell tolling. We can talk about study. And again, things to find. Going then back to seeing something blind. I mean, it's official when you hear someone say something that, if you heard another way, would be something big in the day. But I mean, if it's done right, then it's like, hey, you're all right, is really all they're saying. I think that's kind of what they mean when they say to carry yourself right. then we think, oh man, did I get it? Am I going to get it every time? Oh, he gets it. Like, why would we hold up our hands in the first place? You know? Like, is there more reason for that than show? Then it's like this is the slow fast. Or a long fast. Maybe it's like actually really holding my breath. I don't know, they say playing with fire, but maybe this is playing with death. Like, it's every sense of a line that tried to escape time. So that it could create another line. Well, why don't I just ask? Like, asking is then the greatest fear. The fear then that something actually might grab your ear. Have you ever had anybody grab your ears? What's the purpose for all these ways? Where we place existent things that we say can exist in this way, but not that. Like, we wouldn't even get the warning anyways, unless we did or didn't believe. So then, do I actually believe? Or am I misbehaving? Like trying to sneak around. As if there is something always to be found. Taunts and jests. Where else would words be this hard pressed? Some continual offensive. Then there's always a notion of someone who gets something that you don't. Like it's all some great joke. But if you really were to lighten up, would you get it then? Maybe you'd just be going so fast that it wouldn't necessarily matter when. There's always the possibility for that. Then maybe I could just catch up rather than ask. Goes and does 500 jumping jacks. Runs on tracks. Doesn't even bother to run down the stairs. Slides down rails. It's a little more risky, but I mean, we're trying to get down as fast as we can. And I mean, obviously, rails are part of the plan. Taking into consideration all the crazed nations. Again, just one off. Like everything's relative. Up until some point. We then consider what is a winner? Is there reason for sinners? Is there such thing as a good joke? Oi there, bloke. People playing seriously. Like they've figured out some great mystery. Maybe if I want to be stable, if I want to be something that knows what tables are for. Maybe I just should or shouldn't go on. Something that's like a rabbit hole's furlong. Because sure, I mean, I can make sense of it in many ways. But then maybe it's just simply interaction that pays. Like, no matter how silly a thing can get, it must somehow be physical, yet really, though, could I take this then to the place that it doesn't care? Like, from that place, I'd be able to perceive any there. Like, I could just engage myself. Somehow tell my hands that there's some mysterious part of me on the shelf. Then it would just be like lifting up my own hand, wouldn't it? Then standing somewhere in some posture without care. Maybe. Just maybe. It's like I have to start over again. I need to go find something from some level 1. Like, certain parts of me are what go around. And other parts are what have yet to be found. Then I could make a mystery right now of myself, speaking this way. Like, certain parts of me are projections at play. Taking the amount of reason that I use to seize them. I wonder if I could use this to provide some way of lifting them up or projecting to someday out, far in front. How do I convince them? When being there is the blunt, and while I'm here, that's the stunt. I wonder yet, what is the most mysterious part of me? One that might make the mysterious parts my part, you see. Like, I could say that if there was any reason for me, why would I need to lift anything up? I question. Wouldn't it be like being before reason? And the greater the reason was, it would be easier than just because. For it would be like it already was. Then at that point, I can say that certain parts aren't necessarily me. For it's like they take work and they are heavy. Then it's like, should I take them off somehow? Well, how would I do that? Maybe by giving them more reason. Though, is it really all things in their season? If so, then I'm just waiting here. While trying to top the dream. Make it so that anything that says it can top is basically topping. So how do I top myself? Basically, is it through some sort of work? Some expression of work done? Is topping itself more risk or fun? Oh man, now I remember. I actually know what it's like. When the pressure is on. It's actually like a moment where the moment is gone. For nothing is really engaging you. They're simply staging you. Then it's like this moment right here is set on some grand stage. I used to go to such places in my life every once in a while. But then again, even there it becomes less like a play and simply more things in the way. Then I guess I could always clean. But then it would be like I'd be blind from seeing what blinds me. Because all the blank space would be blinding.
Hi, sorry. Just grabbing some stuff.
Featuring Bree. You're on the mic, Bree. She's a little shy, you see.
Sorry. I don't know where the paper towels are.
There's a bunch out in the shop in that storage room.
I'll wait to the shop. Oh, they're right in front of my face.
You want to say anything to the mic, Bree?
Hello. I'll say hello. Hello.
You don't got like a catchphrase or anything?
I've got nothing in mind.
All right, well, we can work on that.
See ya, bud.
Then it would be like maybe I had more reason, you know what I mean? Because it wouldn't all just be looks. But then maybe I'd be able to see so far across spaces that I would think, man, there are so many other places. And every place that I would be able to see would just be trying to keep clean. Then I'd go there and they'd clean me. Oh, I'm getting so close to actually coming to some reaction to this action. I mean, who's going to say that this isn't actually some way? That itself might be just like the perception. Like in this place out of order, catch phrases are the border. Word banks and word seeds. Then when one person says all these words, there can be other words featuring. We'll work on it. I'm sure there's something I could practice. But you see, the practice itself is with words to please them. How do I please the words? How do I appease to them? Should I build some great statue? To all of these characters? You see how much work that would take? And already it seems to drain me. And then every other way I could represent this is just so plainly that in fact it would be like totally taking me out. Like I should then honor some great plane. But that itself is something that refrains. Maybe I could go buy a new pair of shoes. That itself walks across the Great Plains. Like I said again, what part of me is actually mystery? It might feel kind of good to go walk in the rain. Get my feet wet in the puddles. Oh man, the seasons again. Like I've never experienced things here before. How long has it been since we've knocked on this season's door? Maybe I should do like what I said. Climb a tree and find some childhood favorite of these things. I mean, if I really am going to top myself, it would be like spinning what I know. Wouldn't you know? So I wonder, is there some great top that I can talk about? Like where all the tragedy of this house is almost held in what could have been, what is now shelved. Trips and travels, romance and battles, then the real thing seems to come out. There's escapes and there's intos. And there's others. And sometimes there's even somewhere that we shouldn't go. Like things that exist that we shouldn't show. Maybe if I could stand it. Maybe if I could just get a hand on it. But it's like, if it goes around me, would I know what to go for? Maybe I should just dig some more. Dig deep until it's like I'm in a well. But maybe that's what I'm coming out of. Has it been hell? Maybe I should just go real slow. Or maybe I'm too good to know. Maybe it's something bad. This thing, it's so middle. Some would say mid. Spoke to an edgelord the other day. He wondered why I had something to say. Well, I figured, funny enough, your name is actually like blaming two things. Like you could be in the past and in the future, you see. So I messaged the edgelord. And then he messaged me. Maybe it would be like measuring myself in some sort of way. If I was measured, then maybe there'd only be so much I could say. Would that be worse than not knowing what to say? Not even knowing that you didn't know? Oh yeah, I'm just a little kid. Don't you guys know it? I'm just a little kid. Seriously. I mean, why should I be able to even know what I see? I'm just a little kid. Why do you guys expect that of me? But the funny thing is that if I can tell you how it is that I'm just a kid, then is that worse or better? Am I better off in just taking off? I mean, if I was grown up, wouldn't people talk to me? Right? Right? And since no one talks to me, it's basically like I'm a little kid, you see. Speaks to things. Oh. And it's actually kind of funny. Like, the moment can be there. With things that don't speak there. Like it's completely understood. Then maybe we're just playing baseball. I should go grab a bat of wood. Try to find what's moving. I'll swat the fly. But I already caught a bug, no lie. You heard me go outside. What do you think I was doing? Throwing it out there. Up, up, and away. Like, I could send off balloons like they were actually trouble. The brain's in the sky, and here's an air bubble. I said something funny about air bubbles the other day, about how it's only like that when you're trying to go that way. Then maybe I should just go eat a bunch of candy. Fill my mouth with sweets until I feel dandy. Candy, 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 candy. Whoa, that was risky right there. So many sounds. I could even bring this to the edge. I can bring this to the edge now of recording this. Like, whatever I'm dealing with is just the ability to perceive a mistake. Like, if I was to make a mistake right now, it'd be heaven's sake. One single letter, pronounced worse or better. Holy cow. funny trying to read things when you listen to something that basically talks while it sings. Remember when I used to do readings? That was fun for a minute. Lots of fun for a minute. But I've been doing this now for 57 minutes. Oh, and I've been tested. Like, where is the advantage, night or day? Maybe if I could dedicate something to each and every way. Like if I was to go and all of a sudden create some magic in my space, and rather than have books about things all over the place, I dedicate one to Missense, one to the night, one to the day, and one to the fight. I'd say and label a book. This one is for the directions my legs should have took, literally with those words on the front cover. I'd have 5, 6, 7 of these books. Write about each of them in this way. That sounds pretty crazy. Like already right there, no one's doing that. Like there's always something no one's doing, but it seems like, why is nobody doing this, you know? Then it takes it all back to square one. Like seriously, it can get really strange, really weird when you actually come to the place where you could perform things like that. And supposedly, you're something that's been alive this long or whatever. Never even heard of it. Labels journals with all these studies. That aren't even weird. It's just like elementary. When the elements themselves seem to act weird. Am I closer to genius? Or just a nerd?
Hello.
Yo, you got a catchphrase? We're doing...
If you don't win, it's because you got pinned. That's my phrase.
I'm just doing a voice journal right now.
Oh, is that right?
You wanna do like a podcast with me? We can just turn it into a podcast.
I'll be featured.
Yeah, featuring.
Be featured.
All right. Well, welcome to the podcast, everybody. Careful what you play, though, because we don't want any copyrights or anything on our podcast. Whoa, hey, cut it out. I got to cloud out this music on this podcast. I'll yell louder than this song for however long it takes, because I'm not letting this song get broken by the other sounds in the room. I got to read the room, and if the room is telling me I got to yell, then I'm going to yell like I'm down in a well. Hello! Hey, can you hear me over there? Hey, the part of Weston that wants to play fair. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Watch this video.
Is it gonna mess up my video? Hey, Weston! Hey, over there, God! Hey, can you hear me over there? Can you hear me over there, Weston? Can you hear me over there?
It is finished.
Would you like a drink? Anything?
What you got?
Airhead. We might have some Airhead bubblegum. Bowie might have had the last of it.
What do you want to drink? We might have some Airhead bubble gum.
I said, do you want something to drink? Because that seemed like a normal thing for a podcast. But then I don't think we have anything to drink.
Gotcha. It's funny to talk down here because the drums make it like reverberate. Do you hear that?
I think drums add a real big atmosphere to any room. And they probably do add a little bit of reverberation too.
At least maybe me talking. Maybe I'm just crazy. I'm just. Do I look like a guy with a plan?
Shut up. How's your day?
I'm good. Pretty good. And what did I do? Oh yeah, I scooped poop for like 3 hours.
Yeah, I know. I saw you out there just listening to music.
No, I was listening to a podcast. I was listening to
Saw you
Dan.
out there listening to a podcast.
Yeah, actually, I had a great time because I was listening to Dan Carlin.
Dan, huh?
I was listening to a new one. It was on the slave trade. Yeah, the modern slave trade in the Americas, and so it was fun to have a few hours. But holy cow, man! I've never seen so much poop in my life.
It's winter.
It was dude. That was all the poop from the whole entire year. Like 6 months of poop I picked up, but it's pretty satisfying to have 2 massive bags of poop. You know, never thought I'd say that sentence. Pretty satisfying to be able to carry 2 insanely big bags of poop.
Did you ever watch Homestar Runner on the internet?
Uh-uh.
It's like a really old cartoon. It's pretty funny. There's a guy on it called the Poop Smith.
Oh, really?
He was always picking up poop, yeah.
What?
They called him the Poop Smith.
Dude, I was tired though, man. Oh, I know. I never watched this, but I know what it is.
Yeah, I used to watch it all the time when I was younger.
Maybe I did watch it.
One of the guys on there reminds me of Danny.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. 100%, dude.
Strong Bad and The Cheat.
Yeah, there's a bunch
Strong,
of
Sad.
characters. It's like super old cartoons. They're called like Joe cartoons and stuff like that.
Interesting.
I had a weird thought about dog poop the other day on the lawn. Underneath like all the snow.
And what?
I said I had a weird
Dream about dog poop?
weird thought. No, it wasn't a dream. It was just like I was like out walking around in the snow. I just had a weird thought. And I was like thinking, it's like underground pipes, dude.
Poop?
Yeah, I was like all the dogs are just indoor plumbing or something like that, or like that's what I was like thinking.
What? I don't understand.
I was like, well, just if I was to like to try and reduce the thought, it's like in our realities, we have concepts of like inside and outside, right?
Oh, okay.
And so basically what I was actually thinking was comfortability or creature comforts, as we say in like 21st century stuff, you know what I mean? What that's actually based off of is us trying to mix outside stuff with inside stuff. And then I feel like animals become the scapegoats for that concept because we're always trying to, what is the old saying? Like, and it's pie day as well. Have our pie and eat it too, or what is it? What's the actual saying?
You're just trying to squeeze in a pie day.
No, I wasn't trying to, but I think it fits perfectly.
Let's have our cake and eat it too.
Have our cake and eat it too, because it's like we're trying to mix the outside and the inside, the best of both worlds or whatever. And then I think the animals become like the scapegoats for that stuff. And I think that like,
you mean like the mechanism for it?
yeah, it's just it's like this, it's like, I think the reality's all just these symbols for a lot of different things, you know what I mean?
Scapegoat I think just has a little bit different definition.
Well, sure.
But
That's
anyway,
probably all about how you're looking at it, whether or not like you're in the moment or not, or whether or not like you feel clean or dirty. Because it's just like once you're already like dirty, it's like no problem to just do more dirty work or something like that. So it's like just about crossing over the line or something. And so then at that point in time, they might not be as like scapegoats more as they actually are like companions. So I just think it's like the Red Rover game, blue collar, white collar stuff or whatever. But I think however what side of the fence you're on or whatever, it's going to be like either like scapegoats or like companions. But I think that all comes down to like where your moment is or where your mind is.
you gotta dumb it down. You lost me a while ago. I don't know.
I tried to just say that I think a lot of it just has to deal with our trying, basically the most basic principle I was trying to get at, I think. And then it's like you can relate things until basically relation itself, I think, comes to a point of where you have to make something up. So I might just be getting to that. But I think the most basic thing I was trying to say was that I just think that like it's this whole concept of us trying to mix the inside with the outside.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, so then it creates weird responsibilities, like inside or outside. So we have weird responsibilities inside, we have weird responsibilities outside, which is just like the whole saying of like trying to bake your cake and eat it too or whatever. Have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because that's funny. They are outside dwellers, yet we invite them inside to enjoy the benefits, but there's also the cons but we work around them by having them go outside at certain times. You know, when you started talking about plumbing,
yeah, but it's like we want to go outside too.
Yeah, that's a good point. We want to enjoy the outside, but having them anyway, yeah, that's fun. But you mentioned something that I thought was, I had a little tangent thought, like, what is inside and outside? We create, like, we poop inside, but we like, the bathroom and the toilet is like a connector, a teleportation device from inside to outside.
Yeah, for sure.
Just kind of interesting, but like a concealed outside, which is the worst of all outsides, which is an inside technically, but it is an outside inside.
That's an outhouse.
It's an inside, which is outside.
It's like
which is even worse than an outside.
It's like an in-house.
An inside that is outside is even worse than an outside.
It's like the spoiled room. Sort of.
It's like a chicken coop.
You know a weird thought that I had about the restroom?
What's that?
Was like, I felt like I was like melting when you're on the toilet. It's just like if you actually try and fill it, it's like you're like ice and you're just melting.
Okay.
Yeah. I also think that the more we try to make things have reason in our lives, the more that it almost just like stinks to an extent.
More it stinks.
Like the more that we try to like make things have reason or whatever, you know, like we try to ascribe meaning to things, is that we're actually just dealing with that when we're dealing with a lot of that other stuff too.
Yeah, a lot of the times ignorance is bliss.
Oh, we've already came back. We've already came to the ignorance is bliss, huh?
I think that could have been the first. That's basically what you're saying, right?
Yeah, sure.
But
Or
different
yeah,
way.
or like take your own medicine or whatever, you know, kind of thing. Like, yeah, the ignorance is bliss is what I was getting at for sure.
Yeah.
I was just saying like, oh, we've already reached a couple like common ideologies or whatever. How's your Airhead gum?
It's already lost all flavor.
It actually
though.
has like bits of candy in it and
It was
stuff.
actually good though. I actually liked it. Yeah, it was fun. It's a fun.
Whoa! We gotta hold off on all the.
Canada and Mexico will face off tomorrow, so let's throw it back to 2013 when they had an all-out brawl.
If you're gonna do stuff on your phone, just
Dang,
turn your
crazy.
mute on.
Dang, bro, Canada and Mexico had a brawl in the World Baseball Classic just a few short years ago. That's crazy.
All I see on my phone is fights.
Dang, bro. Darren Waller got traded to the New York Giants a week after he got married to a lady who plays for the Las Vegas Aces. That's crazy.
Whoa.
And Robert Griffin III says that the GM for the Raiders must hate love.
What is this, like the homepage of like the internet or something like that? The front.
Instagram. It's the new sports drama.
Oh.
You know, it's kind of like it's a funny thing. It's, you know, intertwining sports and like, you know, family sort of stuff is kind of funny. But how are they gonna do it? They both live in Las Vegas. She plays for the WNBA, which she's just quit, but she's also very good compared to the others. He played for the Raiders, but now he got traded to the Giants. What are they gonna do? I don't know. Crazy times.
Does that not happen that often? Where people are married or something like that, and they get
That's
split
what
apart by
happens
their.
all the time.
I was gonna say, it sounds like
People,
something that
have
would be.
both have jobs in the same city, but then they, you know, one of them gets a job in a different city. I think that happens extremely often.
Yeah, well, maybe we could just say that relationships are always complex.
I think it's
Right?
it's a little bit unique because like she is in a contract with like this organization, you know, and then he is in a contract with an organization that's like, you know, across the country. And so I think it's a little different in that sense. And they're both, she's like a celebrity making good money here, but also making good like sponsorship deals here. Because she's probably top 3 most popular players in the WNBA. So it's like, it's a little bit more of a, they'll have to make a decision like, are we just going to like be apart for a few years? Or is one of us going to just quit sports? Or are we just going to like travel every other day to like be, so we can be with each other? Well, whatever. They're rich. They're
Well,
fine.
You've brought like 3 things into the equation.
Well,
We can talk about it literally.
we don't have to talk about it at all.
We can talk about it literally or consideratively.
Let's not talk about it consideratively, please.
Because I'm just thinking, I'm like, well, first off, you've brought money into the equation, which is already like a trick question. You've brought.
Austin,
I know we
Seeing
can
this
talk
from
about
a
it.
very
That's what I said. We
literal
can talk
way.
about it literally. Like it's
Yeah,
it's fine.
that's-
Like they've got a tough decision.
We
Who
don't
knows?
have to look
what-
at it any other way.
who knows what they're gonna
I think
do?
that's a good way to look at
Who
it.
knows what they're gonna do? Like,
I don't care what they do.
yeah, you're right. This is just news. We should probably just move on past this topic. We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's more just it's just like funny because it's like rich people problems, you know. Like they'll figure it out, and they'll be no less rich. But, oh, look at that beautiful picture of that elk by the river.
Here's a question I have for you. If someone really was like genuinely rich, because I almost take the definition of like rich to be like
Well, what I was saying is they are both very wealthy individuals as far as how much money is in their bank account.
I know.
That's
I'm
the
just
only
saying
thing.
like I know Weston. I know what you're saying.
Okay. Well, what are you saying?
I was thinking, I was like, dude, if somebody really was like rich, which I just think that it would mean like they're very knowledgeable. They could almost just burn money.
Well, that would actually make them not knowledgeable because that's
No, because they know
That's
some,
it.
because they know that they have some other advantage on the world still. Like I consider someone who's like genuinely like authentically rich, like it's an intrinsic quality they have or something like that. If they're like intrinsically rich, it just means that they understand like basically like Archimedes' principle, which is like give me a lever and I'll turn the world or whatever is what he says.
I'll move the world. Yeah, give me a lever.
Yeah, and it's just like
You know?
I just consider someone who's rich is like that, which means that basically they'll always be able to perceive advantage or something. And so it's like technically they don't rely on anything.
Yeah, so if they are truly rich, then they will be able to take this thing which many people would see as a barrier or a headwind in their life, and they will be able to turn it into something that maybe even strengthens their relationship rather than tears them apart further. Because
we
they
could-
have the character and intelligence to turn any situation from perceivedly unfavorable to better than anyone could imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about it constructively or try to find some middle ground, or I could talk about it deconstructively. I feel like I'm pretty deconstructively.
That's me applying what you just said to
I
their
know.
situation.
I know for sure. I just think though, when I just start thinking about like being in games, like people playing games, I already think like, oh well, it's basically like you got to pick your team or something like that, because it's like when you're on someone's team, like you're on someone's team, and if you're not on their team, then you're not on their team, basically. So it's just like someone's got to pick someone's team. Like I think like that, or I think like, okay, well if it's about pure relationship, then I think that basically if you're going to build relationships, really you have to exercise faith more than anything. And I think that it's funny that they're both playing games, and but this relationship is really important, because I think that games themselves are about like proof. You have to prove points. Like playing games like that is like about proving points, where I think that like actual relationships is just like coming to the realization that it's like there's goodness in the world. I keep seeing this common thing like on my feed about like, it just says like love is kind or something like that. And I just feel like if you're going to be like something that actually tries to like embrace the notion that like love exists, then you need to embrace like this idea that people themselves and like people are complex. They're not so simple. And so it's just basically like the more that you believe in like love and things like that, you have to believe that basically the entire world is good. I think that it becomes a problem when you try to collapse it down into like just these notions of like not even like one person. For me, it's not even like, because it's the trying to even describe it. If you just say that the world is good, it allows there to be a lot of descriptions for what that goodness is. But as soon as you try to say like what love is, then I feel like you're pretty much almost at odds with yourself and with your own person. And kind of the whole money thing to me too, I think a lot of that, all of it just relates to like freedom. Like the more that we try to say that there is something for us, which all this is going to connect, because it's going to just be like, oh, well, yeah, the more that we try to say that there is actually something for us out there, which is like money, because it's something that gives us power. I think that there's a lot to also say that, like, first off, the only real form of power you should ever try to like really seek is the ability to overcome, because then power can even overcome itself, which I think is a good thing to try to always hold on to or try to always go after. But then also that the more the actual, like, there's a plan for everything, then everything should actually be more free inside your reality as well, in my mind. So it's almost like the more that actually you believe in love, I think the more that really what that actually means in my head, in my opinion, is that it just means that you have more choices in your life. It doesn't necessarily mean anything about anybody else. It means that if this life is actually for you, because there is a plan for you, which just means that there is something for you. And this something basically will just reroute itself to the Godhead or whatever, where it's like...
You gotta take 5 steps back and simplify everything you're talking about, because you're going off, and any regular person is like, head is in the clouds, not knowing what you're talking about.
Okay, well, we can just talk about church, basic church principles then.
You've mentioned a few things about, you started talking about money, you started talking about love, you started talking about games at the first, and it was just, I got pretty lost. So
yeah,
if you could like connect it all and a little more simple, then I could actually understand what you're talking about.
Well, I think that honestly, like what I probably would relate it to at this point is like what they say in the Bible, like what people try to say what God is. Is God a spirit? Is it a being? Or what's the other thing that people try and say it is? I know that is God a spirit, or is God physical? And is God omniscient? Mm-hmm. Is probably
he's everywhere, or he's nowhere.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that kind of thing.
He's only in one spot or something.
And I think that really the more that you try to believe in love or whatever, actually the more solid way to actually go down that road is to probably it's gonna go into like an argument like that, where it's people trying to like say what God is, which obviously has been like a problem for a lot of people for a long time, basically trying to say, is God a spirit, or is God a person?
Okay, so you're saying there's a lot of different definitions of what love is.
I just think that
People have been, not everyone agrees on what those definitions are, and people maybe receive or deliver love in different ways. Is that basically what you're saying?
Well, I think that at certain points in time, it actually reaches a contradiction where it's not necessarily love. And I think...
so some people maybe give or receive, they kind of interpret love in different ways. Someone may be thinking they're, loving, but to the receiver, it's like, no, you're not actually loving in a good way. Like, that's not love.
That's why I just say at that point in time, like, you have to consider all the notions that it's like there is this idea that I don't know, maybe it's just that the devil exists or something like that, basically, like some form of tricks and things like that. If you're like because what you're talking about is possession
No,
to an extent.
Wait, what?
Because you're bringing in money.
Where's this going?
What do you mean? This is all related. Because you're talking about money.
Sam,
You're talking about money. You're talking about people winning and losing. You're talking
I
about
didn't say anything about people winning and losing.
they're huge sports people.
I don't understand.
It's just assumed.
What you're discussing here.
I was saying we can talk about. Oh, you brought it up, so I'm just talking about those people.
I just don't understand what. Are you,
They say that love is
are you
blind.
trying to make a point? Or are you trying to like?
No, we're just
I don't
talking.
get
We're just talking, dude.
it. I just don't get the point. It's. I don't know. You're
I
trying
think-
to, like attack these people because they like.
Well, maybe to an
talk
extent.
down to them or what?
Maybe to an extent. I'm just saying that it's like that's
They're
not.
doing something wrong. Like.
Well, I'll be honest. I think that for me, creation comes from actually like being one. I think that at the point in time when you become one, it actually creates separation from you and your surroundings. And that's why I say I feel like actually true love is a contradiction. And that's why I feel like actually the word love itself is probably the most tricky word in the English dictionary almost, because the word already instigates that people aren't seeing the same thing, because one person will totally by their heart say that this is better than something else and no one else can see it, which is the definition of possession or being damned, basically, because it's
What
concealing something, because it's saying that.
What do you mean? Go back. What do you mean?
Okay,
by,
well,
this is different or better than another thing. What do you mean by that?
because it's like beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
So you're saying, wait, but how does that?
It's
how
saying
does
that people
relate
can't.
to
It's saying
love?
that people see the world differently.
Wait, what? With love?
And if they
Love
don't,
is saying that people see the world differently.
yeah, because it's saying that like, and if it isn't, then it's instigating competition.
Why? Wait.
It's
why
a very
why is
antagonistic
why
word.
Is saying like
That's why my way that I pursue it is just that you have to be one.
You gotta one step. I'm not.
It is
connecting the
Weston.
dots. So
Hey.
you're saying like you. Let me see if this is what you're saying. People see the world differently because of the word love. It's a loaded word. You're saying.
That's a loaded question. It's a loaded gun. It's a loaded
It's like,
question.
I
It's a
love
trick
this.
question.
As an example, when someone else is like, I don't love that.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it.
So true love is already a contradiction because it's saying that there's one love.
That's one definition of like, or one usage of the word love though. Like saying like I love you, but that is different. Or I love that thing. You know, those are obviously can be different magnitudes of using the word love. But then there's also like.
Yeah, but if somebody is actually loving themselves, here's the thing, Weston. There's better loves though, because if somebody is actually loving themselves, then doesn't that mean that they love everything? If somebody is actually themselves the embodiment of love, they're going to love everything, aren't they? Like by the definition of the word.
Maybe, I don't know.
That's why I say
Not
it's
necessarily.
probably the most tricky word in my opinion. It really is the most tricky word. Because if people do see things the same, then there's going to be jealousy, there's going to be competition, there's going to be all forms of basic warfare because people are going to be fighting over the most beautiful thing or whatever.
Okay.
And if people say that, oh no, I love this, but you can't see the beauty in it, then all that does is introduce ideas that people actually don't see the same reality, which is almost just as bad.
Well, neither of
To an
those
extent.
things have to be negative. Just because like one thing is beautiful and multiple people appreciate it and love it and like it doesn't mean it
Just
has
creates
to create,
such
doesn't
some
have to create contention.
I know,
like,
it just creates
in-
some great sense of winning and losing
Not
in
necessarily.
reality.
It can create maybe in a scarce zero-sum game, but in a different reality, which I believe is the reality we live in, and a reality of abundance where there's a lot, there's more to go around than there are people and there are things. There's plenty and then more, and then more, uh, we can all.
I'm not telling these
win
people
and
what to
more.
do. They can do whatever they want. I'm just saying I think the word is ironic because I think the more true that love gets, you actually aren't possessing anything.
And like what you said,
But hey, the
you're-
world's
you're
going to do what
correct.
the world
That's
does. It's a very creative world, and the world is full of creative ideas, and other people are trying to figure things out, and there's lots of different ways to look at all these things, and I'm sure a lot of other people have written on this stuff and thought about it.
I agree with you that it's a tale as old as time, if you will, of people fighting over things that they love and they want. And they want to win more than others. It's a very, zero sum since the cavemen. I want this food so I can survive.
Yeah, it's almost communist and capitalist
But
talk now, basically.
But the transcendent man that, like you said, loves himself and understands, I believe, is able to see that, they can actually rise above that and feel grateful and happy for other people that have discovered that love for themselves and for something else. And that's the next level of love, is when you can feel like you can love someone else because of their love. You can feel happy for other people, right? You don't see the world anymore as zero sum. You see it as abundant. You expand the pie. There's not only 10 pieces, there's unlimited pieces of pie. I think that is the next level of love that many people never reach, but I think it is the only way to find true peace in a very competitive world.
I basically don't believe in love, to be honest with you.
Well,
But
what does that even mean? Love
just mean
has many definitions.
I can say it. I don't believe in it.
Well,
I don't believe in love.
Love has so many definitions. To love something means to just care for something. So if you say I don't believe in love, that may be kind of you obviously care about a lot of things. And even if you care about yourself, love is a word that has meaning for things that it seems like you reflect in your actions that you do have love for things, is what I'm saying.
What actually interests me more
You may
is
not be in love with some girl, but that's not all that love means.
I'd rather just wipe the word from the dictionary. We can delete it.
Man, you're really bitter against.
We can delete the word love.
relationship.
We can delete it. I just think they're better dreams to have, to be honest with you. I feel like that's in my
That's
ability to
You
dream.
gotta be happy for other people, bro.
See, it just instigates a whole paradigm. Instigates a whole.
When someone else is super happy in there, finding a relationship.
See,
and
it already
they
just
find
instigates.
great friendship there, like I was saying, the transcendent man.
It's an instigator.
Can go above.
It's like what Jerry says about Woody Woodpecker. He's an instigator.
The carnal, temporal man cannot rise above the competition, but a transcendent man can be grateful and happy when the next person wins the thing that he wants. And that's one of the most beautiful.
I just think they're, in my opinion,
of man.
see, in my opinion, it's almost like comparing just strength with
Would
weakness.
you not agree with this? What I'm saying? I feel like this is.
Oh, dude, I'd rather just
this is
always go
very
for power.
true
I would always just go for
philosophy.
power, dude. I would always just go for power.
It is
If
the
I have to
greatest
reach,
power
if there's a
to be
bar,
grateful for
if
when
there's
you
a bar
lose.
and one of them says power and one of them says love, I'm
It's like when
gonna
Jet was
always
upset about
jump to the one that says
Survivor,
power, dude.
and he's pissed because someone else won something. But it's a true gift to be grateful when someone else wins,
Yeah,
and
well,
to still have a fun time.
If
And
you-
that is an analogy for life. When you can be grateful for someone else and still have a fun time in life, it is the
It's all relative.
power.
It's all
If
relative.
it's
It's 100% relative,
If your
dude.
power can be taken from you from someone else.
It's 100%
because
relative.
They won and you lost.
It's all
That
relative.
is such fragile. That is, shows such a lack of power.
It's so relative.
It's
It's-
like what Gandhi said.
So relative.
What did he say? He said something really good. Gandhi said something about this.
I just think that
Stephen
it's like
Covey
comparing like weakness and strength or hard and soft, but I also think that it's completely relative. Like it's at this point we can actually not only just compare apples with apples, we can compare apples with different kinds of apples. And it can be like well, this is completely relative for whatever level an individual is on, basically. Because they're going to have reasons inside their head as to how the world is going to balance power. Okay? Which means that, yeah, me as an individual who is always going to go for power isn't necessarily trying to do that because like I feel like this other emotion is something that is in a way I can't deal with or something like that. No, it's because I have belief in power that if I go for power, the world is actually going to basically balance out the power so that it's going to be represented in some individual, and I can look towards that rather than looking towards some couple or something like that. I'll always be able to look towards power. So if I always go for power in every instance, it might not be that it's like at that point in time I'm going to say that I basically almost overcame power, but then I'll have a perception of power and it might be distant to me. This perception of power might be very distant to me, but I always believe that it's there. And I would almost always rather just go for that than for love, basically.
What I'm talking about, it is a principle, a general
So
principle.
I feel like no matter
It doesn't
what the
only
game is,
relate to
no matter what the game
couples.
is, I can always rely on that. And I can always go for that. And I can always say that the power will shift, basically. And it's going to be like...
What are you talking about, the power, going for the power? What is this power, what is this?
It's a common thing people have said for a long time as well. It's a common thing that people have always said, go for power.
Well, no, but what do you mean when you say go for this power? You're saying I shun the...
I think it's an attitude.
Well, what do you...
I think
like,
it's an
you're
emotion.
saying I go for the power rather than like what you... I don't know, you were saying...
Oh,
you
I said if there was two
couples.
bars, I said if there was a bar that said
But
love and there was a
going
bar
for
that said
power.
power, I would definitely jump
Cool.
for the bar that said power.
Those are both such abstract things that have a million
Sure,
different
but that's the
definitions,
basic
so
representation of it. Sure, but all things have a
how
simple
they
beginning.
could be the
Sure, but
same
all
thing,
things have a
like,
simple
there's
beginning.
a billion things.
Sure, Weston, but
Power, love,
sure,
like,
all
it's
things have a
nonsense.
simple beginning, though.
But what do you mean by going for power? Like, going for power, I would say what I said actually is that gives you the greatest power.
I'd rather just
That is like a
perceive.
shout
I'd rather
from
just
God.
perceive people that were actually living the dream, and in my perspective of what is possible in this reality, rather than doing this reality an injustice by making it something that just doesn't even like seem like there is any joy in it. Like I feel like people that don't have the ability to create some sense of real fun in this reality are people that I don't even want to look towards. And I feel like power is something which definitely creates the ability for people to overcome all their fears so that they can create this within this reality, because I know that it's possible. And so I'm going to do my part whenever I can, and to say that, and I believe that when there is some sort of game going on, that basically I have defined the trick, dude. I have defined lightning. Like,
You can't just say I have defined lightning. Like that makes no sense. So if you're talking to a regular person, you can't just say stuff like I have defined.
It's an
lightning.
air bridge. It's like walking.
No.
It's like doing an airwalk.
No,
Fine, then let me describe it to you
like,
then.
When you're having a conversation with people, like I would recommend not to say like I reach for power. I have defined lightning because they don't have patience with it. No, I'm like, I really want you to be able to develop relationships.
Oh
with
my
people.
goodness, dude! Like I haven't met a million. Like you see, what you don't think I have like a million people that I know and like a tons of people that I've had genuine conversations with. You really don't
actually understand.
Weston, why are you thinking that I can't have genuine conversations with people? I have conversations with people all the time.
I know.
I have conversations with people all the time.
Struggle with making like solid friendships right these days.
I don't struggle with anything.
Well, I know you.
There's nothing I struggle with. I have everything I want.
You tell me all the time you don't have people to go and hang out with. So
I have everything I want. I don't struggle with anything.
I want to help you build, like, make more friends.
Want me to read my wish board to you right now? If you could, would you? I don't struggle with anything. Nothing. I don't struggle with one single thing in this reality.
That's good. I hope that's true. Right, you tell me about the things.
Well, I've written it down to the point where I would die for it. So yeah, it's true.
You just tell me. About
I'll die
all
for
your
it.
Struggles all the time, constantly. So.
We can only see and perceive so much at once.
But I hope you get to the point where you don't struggle. I think that'd be great. I would be very happy.
No struggles, man.
Be happy.
Living free love, baby.
Free power, not free love. Free power.
Love is free, dog.
Not free
love.
Love
Is free.
free power. Do I need to remind you that power is love is for the blind, and power is for those with sight.
Just Weston, just I know for sure. I can switch it up now and just be like, well, if there's a trick to love, then obviously it's the same trick for power as well. And it's just like this notion that there's actually like a talent. I think that it's something you can exercise almost. Where you can basically, it's almost just like jumping. It's almost just like the ability to jump, really. To be able to, which is almost just like holding your breath. If I'm to like put it very basically. If you can jump and you can hold your breath.
You're to put it very basically.
Yeah, because that's physical.
And then you have to go on and explain what in the heck you just said. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying the trick to like love or the trick to power.
If you can jump, if you can hold your breath, if I'm putting it basically, it's like, wait, what?
Okay, now, well, let's relate it even more. Like, people say, don't hold your breath.
Well, just like describe with me what you're talking about. What you mean.
I'm just saying, I'm saying that it's like, power is like a trick because it's like having an advantage. Okay? So, having an advantage.
Like, what is power? What are you defining as power?
I'll define power.
What does that even mean in like a day-to-day context? Like
overcoming.
Okay, the ability to overcome challenges. Okay, that's a type of power. Anything else? Or is that what you mean when you say power?
I mean, what would you like me to like put it in sentences?
No, I suppose.
I mean, how?
No, I'm just trying.
Is this
to
a conversation
like,
between? Are we having a conversation or is this like? Is
don't,
this like a meeting?
I'm trying to understand.
Is this a conversation? Is it a meeting? Or is it a podcast? Because if it was a podcast, it would definitely be much more fun.
Well, I just don't have a clue what you're talking about, and so I'm trying to understand. But when you say stuff like power, like what is power? You know, it's a loaded thing. Like when you say love, it's like, what do you mean by that? You know, I'm trying to understand what point you're trying to make, because then I can actually like add to it, or else I feel like you're just talking, you know, you're just sharing your thoughts, but I'm like lost in translation.
Yeah, I don't know if I could like give you something, like, you know what I mean, because it might just be something that I've studied. How can I like give you something that I've studied?
If you've studied it enough, then you're able to describe it.
That's what I'm trying to describe it. I said it's
Which
like
you
jumping.
did.
I said it's like jumping or holding your breath.
What does that mean?
What, you've never jumped before? You've never held your breath? Is that
I
not
know,
too...
like, what does that mean on like a day-to-day like me context as comparing, was it Power or Love that you were comparing this to?
Because it's like the ability to walk through a crowded room, and to be able to like block everything out except for one thing. That's like holding your breath.
Focus on something?
That's like jumping.
So you're able to focus on something? Is that what you're saying? Block everything out but one thing? Jumping? How does that relate to jumping?
Because you're basically going through...
How am I supposed to make that connection in my mind from blocking everything out, focusing on one thing, is jumping?
Well, I'm just saying because air is like no ground, so there's much more chaos between two spaces.
And I'm supposed to know that's what you mean?
That's simple, dude. That is simple stuff, bro.
No way, bro. Are you serious right now? Like, I can't, I don't live in your brain. I can't
So
make these
simple.
like 7 different logical leaps in order to understand that jumping is being able to focus and shut everything else out, and that is like, what did you say? Holding your breath?
That's like holding your breath,
Like,
or like closing your eyes, and like using. It's just like
closing your
basically.
eyes. You said so many things.
Yeah, well, I can take it into a lot of different things now.
Yeah, but like, I can't make the logical conclusions.
Well, then just follow me.
Well, I can't track you if you're like jumping.
Or what are
you're
we fighting? Or are we talking?
No, I just.
What? Can't you read a book? Can't you read a book and just enjoy it? And then like if there is
Well,
something.
I want to understand the book. If I'm reading the book.
Yeah, but if
it's
you
like,
don't. Yeah, but
I
if
don't
you
get
sit
what's
there and.
going on.
Yeah, but there comes even in just reading books that aren't that complex, man. Like if you sit there and reread one sentence over and over and over, you're never gonna like get the ball rolling.
I know, but I want to be able to understand like the story or like the
Yeah.
thing that's trying to be made. You know.
Well, then maybe it's just you're not that into the book. Maybe it's just not what you enjoy.
Maybe the book is there are sentences missing in the book that are just not there, and so I need some of the appendix.
I need to just say a bunch of random words like
no,
butthole.
I just need notes in the appendix so I can define the words in the book.
Butthole, wiener, big toe.
Yeah, you're right. It's like a big toe. Wait, what? I don't understand. See, I don't get it.
No, you said there's missing words, and so I was just trying to say a bunch of missing words to see if I could say the right one.
I know. It's,
Butthole wasn't the right word.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm unsure. But anyway, I can't remember what we were talking about.
Well, I can remember what we're talking about. Anyways,
That's a cool picture though.
I also think that being rich, at some point in time, it's gonna be like choice as well, because
You say rich is happiness.
I would say you can be happy
that
if you're
the way
rich.
you're-
No, I think that
Or are you
richness
defining
is
rich as, like,
more of like some.
material wealth.
Dude, I almost think of rich as like a person more than anything. It's something that is like it might be the most living
Well, how
word.
are you defining rich? Not like what you see as like rich, but like because you probably define rich in depending on the conversation in many different ways. But
Well, yeah, because being rich, I feel like, is
the
being
point
able to
you're
use the
trying
trick.
prove, what definition of rich are you using in this? In what you're in this point? You're trying
I'm saying that being rich is almost like the most living word you can be, because I feel like if you are rich, you can actually have basically different emotions, really. Like you can be happy if you are rich, but you can also be other things as well. Because it's a clever word. It's a word like being it's like a word like being clever.
What do you?
But I
what do you
think
mean
that
by
clever
rich?
is definitely much more of a sneaky word.
Wait, what are you defining as rich? You just said if you're rich, you can be.
Fine, I'll
happy,
just define rich.
Or you
I'll
can
just
be other things.
maybe I'll define rich as being able to use the trick the most, like, and the greatest and the most rich person would be able to use all the tricks.
Okay. You know what I'm gonna ask?
What is the trick?
What do you mean by tricks?
Yeah, we'll get back to like lightning and jumping.
Okay. Keep going. What are you talking about with those things?
So, I think that probably the best way that I can describe the trick itself, if we're to look at the word trick in a dictionary, and the definition might be something like using like
Using cunning.
misdirection and things like that to accomplish some end or whatever. But I think that nothing like that is actually going to tell you what the real trick is, because if you are actually really tricky, you'll never even use anything like that. So because basically you're going to be the world's greatest thief at this point. You're almost going to be like the world's greatest thief because you're going to be able to steal anything from anything. So you're going to be like the thing that gives nothing credit. And so nothing is ever going to really tell you what the actual trick is, and that's like actual magic at that point. And once you can understand actual magic,
Whoa. You can't jump to just actual magic.
I was just getting on a
what do
roll.
you-
I was getting on a roll right there.
Well, you gotta.
You're gonna slow the roll every time.
slow your
You're gonna slow
roll.
the roll every time.
'Cause,
Maybe
like,
I'll try and make a
jump to
trick
that
out of a
because
tar
you-
ball here
you've missed-
somehow.
You missed a step here.
I didn't miss
You missed a
what.
step.
What?
You missed a logical step here.
What
This
step did I
progression.
miss?
So you're saying that the trick is to be able to use cunning to get anything, but the true use of the trick is
It's basically to be
you
like
don't
God.
even-
No, it's basically to be like God, is
like,
what I would
you're
then say.
so good at it. Your natural self-expression is you have power to be able to.
No, you-
obtain
Like at that point in
anything.
time, it's literally like a superpower, is what I would say.
You have like literal, like you have power is your self-expression to be able to obtain or influence, anything.
It's literally,
that you could ever want.
yeah, it's literally like becoming like a
So-
wish, like a little, like literally being able to like manifest and wish at that point, like actual magic.
Oh, like actual magic.
Yeah, so it's like becoming. It's basically like becoming like God.
What are we defining again?
When we're talking about a trick, but we're just building it
Oh,
up.
you were saying the ultimate.
We're
power?
just building it up.
Well, it was before that. You were trying
We're
to
talking about
say
rich, and then you said,
something.
"What is
Oh, yeah,
rich?"
you were saying,
And then I said,
Yeah,
rich is being
you're-
able to use the
you're
trick.
defining
And if you're the
rich.
greatest, you're the greatest form of richness,
Killer
and you're going to be able to
rich
use
is to
all
be
the
able to
tricks.
create any reality you want via sheer magic and just omniscience, omnipresence. Maybe not omniscience, omnipresence. Just, yeah, okay.
That's where we're at. So, I think that what you have to learn to do is you have to learn how to raise the cheat.
When someone else says the word rich, though, you can't just like put your own definition into rich. You have to understand they mean abundance of wealth, and then
Well,
work from where they are.
I feel like that's an insult.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're saying abundance of wealth.
I know,
If they were
but
to say,
how
like,
much should I go
if they were
around
to
in this?
say, like,
Yeah, sure. There's a
infinite
time.
Power.
There's a time. Yeah, but
then
everything
it's
has to
like,
go in.
Then you're speaking.
Yes,
I'm
Weston,
speaking.
but things have to go in stages, just like you're saying as well. And it's like, so, like, obviously, I'm not going to just, like, I don't want to just go all of a sudden to the stage of infinite power.
Mhm.
Because then you actually are being cheated. That's what I'm getting at, is you have to raise the cheat, which means that you have to create stages. Basically, what you actually have to be able to really do is create stages, because otherwise it is going to be like, yeah, well, we're talking about richness. Well, they define richness as this: infinite power, God. It's like playing rock, paper, scissors and someone just does their thumbs up or whatever. You know that? You ever played with someone that does that? Basically, it's the dumbest
Yeah,
way.
I know what you're talking about, though.
They just do that, and it's called, they say it's God,
Okay.
and they say they win.
Or they'll say, like, gun, or they'll say, like, something like that.
yeah. So what I concluded was that you have to raise the cheat, which, because the cheat is almost like logic, which means that it's actually going to always try to find the easiest path, basically, every single time.
Okay. I think it's pretty common.
But there is actually a way that you can convince, like, logic that it's incorrect. And the moment that you can convince logic that it's incorrect, then you can actually get it to take the longer route. So basically, it's this continual exercise of convincing logic that it's incorrect. And once you can convince logic that it's incorrect enough, then you can reach that stage of basically ultimate power, or like power over,
You
or like
misunderstood.
power
What are you
overwhelming.
talking about logic is incorrect?
So it's like this. The more that you believe anything, and I would say that all logic still has to fall into belief, because even if it is logic, you still have to believe it, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay, so something you believe to be reality.
Yeah, because it still is like something you believe to be reality. But there is a point where the more that you actually believe something, you're going to be missing things that are going around it. So
Okay,
it's like
so-
drawing a straight line.
Yeah.
But
If you believe stuff, then, yeah, okay, you'll miss other things that don't fall within your worldview.
there's always more intelligence. And I feel like logic actually kind of supports that, is that there's always going to be more intelligence.
Okay.
And
So you have to trick logic. Was that what you said? No, you didn't say that.
you just have to raise logic, basically. Or you have to raise the cheat, because I think that cheat and logic are things that are very, very similar. I feel like I just want to be more expressive or something like that while I'm talking about this, rather than I want to be genuine, you know what I mean? I want to be like connecting. I want to be really connecting, and I want whatever it is that I'm connecting with to actually recognize that there are even more ways to express this than just there being one way to express this even. And I'd like to be able to express this in some way that actually seems more genuine, rather than in a way that seems like I was almost asked to express this, you know? Because this, I feel like, did come about naturally, but the funny thing is about if something is almost natural or fake, comes to the point of, like, only when you look back on it, which I think is kind of weird. Like, I'm just talking to you right now, really. Like, I don't think we're going to forget what it is that we were trying to figure out, you know?
I forgot.
We're trying to figure out exactly how to express the definition of a trick, but in a way that...
Rich, you mean?
Yeah, sure, how Rich uses a trick, or how you can become rich.
What is your
How you can
definition of
become rich, and if you are rich, then you should actually
You have to be all powerful to the point of
but
you'll
at
use
this
magic.
point, I feel like the point of like overcoming itself is I feel like it's actually really making its way into the conversation and
Okay.
making
a resurgence in the combo.
yeah, and it's like humility and things like that can actually be a part of the equation as well
Oh.
at this point. Because obviously you know what I mean, like and it's just about the progression of the conversation and things like that, where it's like, okay, yeah, we can like reach a moment now where it's like this is appropriate. And
Well, I think me and you have the same definition of rich in a lot of ways, a lot of similarities. At least, you know, obviously a lot of people, when they hear the word rich, your first thought is abundance of, you know, financial resources or assets, whatever. But, you know, the greatest level of being rich, or I don't think rich is maybe the best word to use to describe it, but is being like just living a life, like you said, where you have like, you're at peace, because you just live a good life and you're like a monk. You know, you don't need anything. You don't need financial resources to have the greatest wealth, or to have, the greatest wealth that people can have. And it's not about your circumstances. You know, peace and wealth has nothing to do with circumstances, and everything to do, or little to do with circumstances, but everything to do with really your focus. And that is truly the greatest wealth. That power that you're talking about. And some people that are wealthy may never have that.
well, I think that ultimately, man, the funny thing is now we can actually probably reach some equilibrium with power and love, because I could say that power, the only real reason to reach for power is for comfort. But if you actually can raise power, it's going to be like raising the sun. And if you can raise the sun, that should bring you comfort, basically.
So
that should bring you true
reach
comfort.
For power for comfort, and then reach for the sun for comfort as well.
But all I'm saying is that if you can do this almost perfectly, then it's going to be like it is almost like inorganic. But we're coming to the point where what I also want to talk about is like this can either go one of two ways now, always. And that is, it can either be natural or fake. And the funny thing is that it's going to be like we're going to create the sensation of the sun through this idea of what the sun is. But the more living that we make it, it's actually going to be like it reaches perfect order. And once it reaches like a sense of like perfect order, then it's going to be like it's actually not living at all. And that should be something that gives us the greatest sense of comfort, because I feel like what we've actually done at that point in time is we've created basically true evenness, which means that light from this point can actually go in any direction. It's like we've created almost like a Bible or something like that with the amount of words that we've used, where if anybody perceiving this conversation or something like that looks at it, it can almost be perceived from any point in time. And I think that probably the best way that we can almost define the trick now, if we're to try to be like actually genuine, is we can probably try to play with the notions of nature and of fakeness, and when is a thing natural and when is a thing fake. And I think that what almost is funny about that is that if I was to try to use like more objects or something like that to try and express these ideas to you, it's almost going to be like the idea that we're trying to express actually becomes faker and faker and faker. But if I try to actually allow the notion that there is another way to express this, then we can almost like trick ourselves to an extent, which I think is really the greatest trick, basically, is being able to like trick yourself. And so maybe it's like we need to prove that we can look forward somehow. We can I don't know if nature is always a sense of newness, and like fakeness might almost always be a sense of like the past to an extent or something like that. And I'm sure that there's times and places for a lot of that stuff. What do you think is more natural of a conversation? What do you think like a natural conversation is like with people? Obviously this is a different setting. This is like a totally different setting than
Sure.
other conversations.
Well, there's like, I've never been the natural conversationalist, and I don't know. A lot of people would say that that's bullcrap, but I like have tools that I use when I go into conversations because it helps me to feel comfortable and secure when I'm having a conversation with somebody. And the tools that I utilize are, I ask questions. That's the biggest one, because the most popular person at a party is not the person that talks the most. It's the person that asks the most questions and is the best listener. And that's the best friend you have. That's the person you go to. That's the person you care about, like, tends to be the person you care about, like, the most. But that's why moms a lot of the time are most beloved, because they tend to do a lot more listening than lecturing. But anyway, so listening and asking questions is a key tool that I use when trying to create a conversation. And then, another tool that I utilize is like interesting stories. Stories is a good device to create a fun interaction with somebody. And that can be a comedic story or a dramatic story. You have the different genres of movies. They can all be interesting and entertaining to somebody else. And then another one I use is, short insights. I try not to lecture too much, but, little insights. Maybe it's like, a sports thing that I'm talking to somebody about, and I had a sports take about something. Or maybe it's a history take. I read something in history and I'm like, hey, like I heard this thing. You may find this interesting. They may not, but that's why I try not to talk about it too much. I just I give a take rather than something too long. But it's an insight, it's not necessarily always a take or an opinion, but or that could be, something I noticed, throughout my day, or it's just like talking about, my day to somebody. And those tend to be my three of my biggest tools. And they can be interchangeable, like I may ask a question and then they share something, and then I ask another question and then they share something that sparks an insight, and then I share an insight. And then, there's give and take, and then I ask another question about them, and there's give and take. But yeah, I have those three tools in my toolbox that help me to feel secure in having good interactions with people. Questions, listening, insights, and stories. And I don't know, I think it helps me a lot. But yeah, I try to I try to not be the person that speaks the most in the conversation. I try to be the one that listens the most. When I focus on that and I try to make that the balance, I tend to have, I tend to build more relationships. Because it's unique for people to have like good questions asked to them about what's going on in their life. You know, there's the questions that people ask their kids after school, how was school? And kids never are able to respond well to that. It's a boring question. It's used time and time again. But if you're able to, not necessarily with kids, but with adults that are willing to actually answer the questions, you know, asking about specific things, by being observant to them, you know, look at their body language, you know, trying to think about things that they told you in the past and follow up on those things, asking about their family or their pursuits and their goals and their dreams, asking about the things that they care about makes them care about you. But anyway, I have kind of just went off on this, but those are my tools in my toolbox to have effective relationship developing events in my life and conversations. I think it works really well. But I don't know if that's what you asked me, but that's what you got.
I just genuinely think more than like trying to like compare intelligences or anything like that. It's just like, geez, talking so much is like, dude, it just gets strenuous. Like, just like
Become the master of the question.
Well,
the master of the question.
Just like if they're not doing things entertaining though, then it's just like, well, maybe it's like, I don't know. Like, at what point in time are there things actually like mediums and stuff like that? You know, like, and
you're planting seeds for, you may not meet somebody and then they, you know, put on a world-class performance in your first interaction with them, but it's the law of the harvest when it comes to relationships. You know, you get to know somebody not because in this very moment they're, you know, bringing you joy. You know, you plant seeds in the spring in a relationship, and then you harvest that in the fall, where, man, this relationship is actually, I find a lot of joy in this friendship, and we're able to chill, and you know, this is someone that I've had fun with. You know, we do things with each other. We share similar interests, whatever it may be, but it's not as much about today or in the moment. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it just clicks in the moment. It's great. But other times, yeah, you just don't even think about it. Like, I had this buddy I went to New York with this last week for our trip. I had talked with him, like, you know, hey, what's up? How are you doing? How's your family? Like, a million times throughout the semester. But we never, like, had real conversations. But we went on this trip together. We roomed together. And, man, we had a lot of fun together. But I'm glad that I, you know, planted those seeds early to lay the foundation for this time that we had together, because we were able to, like, really have a blast. So I think that it can be hard to stay cognizant of that in the moment, but it's important.
Well, I got a few thoughts that came to my mind.
But
if you're
it's
listening to
pretty
that.
late. Now you got work tomorrow. It's 11.
I don't actually.
You don't have work tomorrow?
Let me try and finish
good.
this. Let me try and finish this thought.
If you don't have work tomorrow, that's chill.
Um,
I'm not trying to I'm not trying to end anything.
So, what I was thinking was actually maybe what you're trying to do, because I was almost feeling like that was becoming like it was almost like becoming like too relaxed. It was like,
Well, what was becoming too relaxed?
It was like we're becoming too comfortable,
what
complacent in our, like, oh, everything comes with the season, everything comes from the seasons, like getting to know people.
No, it's a principle, man. It's a law.
Because what I feel like
You
the
reap what you
actual,
sow.
because I feel like what the actual trick is to get around all of that.
There's no getting around it. There's no getting around it. There's only one way to build relationships with people, and it's through listening to them, getting to know them, having time, spending time with them, having give and take. You know, you enjoying each other's company. If the goal is building relationships, there's only one way to do it.
Or, in my opinion, I think the more that you can actually prove that, prove the future, and actually, and maybe like more so disprove the past, then it's actually like that's like the best trick in the entirety of the world, basically. The more that you can always continually just prove the future and disprove the past.
Yeah, begin with the end in mind.
Because
Improve yourself every day a little bit. Is that what you're saying?
well, I just think that if the future is a place that always exists, then basically the future is going to have a perception of, like, for starters, like, there's no sense of going forward, usually, without there always being, like, the more spiritual the conversation gets, there has to be some perception of, like, almost everybody. Or something like that, like a place of like of everybody. And so the funny thing is, I feel like, is that it can almost be like the future can either be very primitive or very technological, and so really all that you're really trying to do is just make some idea of this future that basically can almost like go anywhere, because at that point in time, like, why do we have to obey any of those laws or anything like that if we can reach that place, like right here, like in this conversation?
Well, we're already good, but the thing is, a law, you can either obey or choose not to obey a law, but the law is going to, like, the law works, and not obeying the law doesn't work. And that's the law of relationships is, you know, set. And the outcome of, you know, building strong relationships is just, it's a more enjoyable existence. That's all I was saying. I'm not comparing, saying that this is like the only thing that's important or whatever, but I think it is one thing that is very, can be very valuable. For certain.
Do you think the past is a real thing?
What do you mean by that?
Like, do you think the past is factual, or do you think that we're only living things from the perspective of the future? Because it always almost seems like it's sheer luck that anything actually makes it. The past always seems to be something that's like this idea of there being great struggle or something. And it's almost like that's actually where all the reward is, though, is the funny thing enough. And so I feel like the greatest trick is that if you can actually free the past, then maybe. If you can actually prove to the past that the past actually, all forms of the past actually are in the future. Because because that's the greatest place that tries to collapse reality into either having haves or have-nots, is the notion of the past. It always is, because it whittles things down to this place where it's basically like all fit survival of the fittest, and all luck, and all basically like, oh well, people can't do that to, like, people were so much whatever back in the day or something like that. But if you can actually disprove the past, then you can actually, I think the funny thing is you can actually be more real. And you can actually then at that point in time be like the sun. Because what you are doing is you're saying that basically the ultimate truth is to basically just like be able to lift everything up or whatever, or to make everything free. And so if you can actually say that the past is a fake place, and that really the only place that we can really ever know anything is the future, and then so you really shouldn't feel like there's anything in this world that you're supposed to do. There's not necessarily one single thing in this entire world that you're actually supposed to do. And so if we can then actually prove the trick, then we've in a sense given the past justice, because the past operates off of a trick, but then we've taken the trick to the future, and so we've given power to the future. And then at that point in time we should be able to reach some sense of equalization with the past and the present and the future, and also the notion of lies and realities as well.
I don't know, I think
if we can prove the past is go ahead.
I don't think we need to think about it that much. I don't know.
I just think it's fun to think about.
I didn't understand everything that you were referring to. I don't know what you mean by the sun. You've said that a handful of times, and I think it was one of those things.
I think the future is more like the sun.
Well, I know you've said the sun a couple different.
I'm saying I think the future is more like the sun.
The sun is.
And I think the sun is more rounded, obviously, and the Earth is definitely much more plain. Ironically enough, but we usually describe the Earth as being. We usually describe the Earth as being something that's very round, but we can only see the roundness of the Earth through a projection of the Earth, ironically. But to speak of the sun, which is to speak of light things, basically, I think the irony of that is we almost have to go completely straight. Is to be completely real, is to basically almost not fear death to an extent.
Can you
and
just give me like a dictionary definition?
If we don't fear death,
what does it mean?
if we don't fear death, then we're not completely fair, and we've actually become very, very plain. So at that point in time, we can say that really, to basically prove the trick, almost then what we have to do at this point in time is to talk about death. Because what we need to actually do is, if the irony of the planet Earth is that...
What do you mean by the sun? You're not giving me a straight definition. What do you mean by when you say the sun?
The sun in the sky.
No, I know, but like you say it in a way that like doesn't...
I'm just saying it poetically.
Abstract, like, symbol of something.
I'm saying that it's funny that we say that the Earth is round, but we can only see the roundness of the Earth through a projection.
No, I know, but you said you've said it multiple times.
And then I'm getting, yes, Weston, but I'm talking, yes, I know, but this is what I said in the full length.
When you say the sun, you're saying all of these.
Yeah, but this is why I jumped to the sun, is because I'm talking about planets. And I'm saying that the Earth, it's funny that the Earth, we say, isn't flat, but we can only see it as round from a projection, which isn't real. But the sun itself is round, but the only time that we can actually really talk about the sun in basically like some sense of like fervent actuality is if we disprove the idea of death. And the reason I say that we have to disprove the idea of death is because that's the only way that we can be real, basically. But then at that point in time, if we disprove death, that's really the only time that we can actually be actual light, which is like what the sun is. Once we actually disprove the ideas of death, we can actually then be like the sun, which is light. But then we're not going to be fair. Okay? We're not going to be like even. We'll be powerful or whatever. We're not going to be like fair in terms of like being on even ground with people once you disprove death. And as soon as we disprove death, then the sun actually isn't going to be like round because roundness is evenness. So then we've actually but then the funny thing is the irony of only seeing the earth as a projection of being round through a projection. You can only see the sun as being a projection of being flat, basically through imagination, which is like what we're doing right now.
What are you talking about? So you're saying when you say the sun, that you've said a couple times tonight at different points, you are meaning all of this when you say that one word?
This is what I was getting to.
No, I'm saying
getting to this.
You've said it a couple times. You've offhand referenced like becoming this like the sun.
Then if you can disprove death, you can do anything.
You understand like why it's hard for me to understand?
I've sat here and explained every step.
Well, I know, but it's like you gotta,
having a conversation.
You gotta empathize, like,
this is a podcast.
To me, how it can be hard for someone like me to understand what you're talking about when you offhandedly
this is learning
a word.
This is me trying to.
You understand.
That's fine.
How you define it.
That's fine. This is me trying to talk about something that I've written in a book with you. If that's how it has to be, that's how it has to be. Maybe some things are just difficult and they take a long time and take stages.
Well, no, it's just you see it in the way that you see it. You have a description of, your own personal definition of a word, like of words, and then you'll just fit that word into a sentence. But I obviously, see it in the more
well, it's obviously related to what we're talking about at a specific time. Yeah, but we're obviously.
But then you have inserted your own definition of words. So anyway, I'm just saying that like when you say these words, understand that I'm not going to understand what you mean when you've given a word your own definition. So is your
like I said, do you want to read a book on magic? Or do you want to read the book, or are you going to sit there and
book? So just understand.
We're getting there. We're slowly getting there.
No, I know, but like from here on out, like as you explain things, recognize when you're about to say a word that you have given your own personal definition.
How can I express?
Just like say what I mean by this.
Maybe that's lightning. You're trying to like make lightning not what it is.
No, see, this is an example. Like when you say lightning, I don't understand what you're talking about.
What, you don't automatically have visions in your head of what lightning is? No, and then so when I say is, like, and so when I try to say like maybe that's just lightning and you're trying to make lightning not what it is. And then it's like you don't understand that lightning is like a very obviously unstable thing.
No, I know, but like you.
And so that's why I'm saying that it's like that's what it is. And then so it's like so that's where I feel like you should be able to make those connections. Like
it's a lot of connections. I think. Yeah. So, anyway, as you continue describing, keep that in mind.
Okay, so then then fine. I'll summarize. I'm gonna summarize this right now. basically the greatest trick in existence is to be able to go through.
So you're talking about the past. You were talking about the past and the future, and you said the word sun, and then I asked about what do you mean by the sun?
I said way more than that.
Well, I know, but you were talking about the past and the future. That's what you were talking about.
Because I said that the past, ironically enough, is about death. So basically, I'm going to collapse the whole argument, the whole discussion into a conversation of death and life. So I'm going to disprove death and I'm going to prove life. Okay? This is the greatest trick that you can do to any person that you ever come across in existence. And if you can do this, you can basically be God. All right? So what you do is if you can actually go through a stepwise process to lead them to the place where you can actually basically disprove death to them at the point in time when you can actually disprove death to them, you've basically proved that they can do anything in their reality. You've proved the sun, you've proved the future, you've proved tomorrow. That's the greatest trick in reality. Because all I'm going to say is that at this point in time, the past just basically, the funny thing about it is, the world operates off great ironies. Is look at the past, it's all death.
Okay, so you said
when I say disprove the past, I say disprove death.
Okay, you said if you can disprove death, then people can do. Then someone
think
can
about
do anything.
think about going out in this world.
What does that mean? What does anything mean?
Why? Well, because think about this.
What does disproving death mean?
It means exactly what it means. They can walk in front of vehicles. They can jump off cliffs. They can drink acid. They can drink poison. They can shoot themselves in the head. They can go and take bombs anywhere. They can go and kill anybody because nothing's going to happen. They can do all that stuff. If you disprove death, they'll never die. So what does it matter?
Well,
that's what I mean by disproving death.
you can't do that. That's not reality.
I just did.
Well, you didn't though.
Maybe not to you. I just disproved it to myself.
Because if you didn't disprove anything, because if you did any of those things, you would die.
I don't think so.
Well, it's reality, so that's you watch a video on someone getting blown up or shot in the head, and it happens.
No, because the past is always going to make up, basically, the way for whatever it is once you have consciousness, so that what you did actually has a direct line. Because like I said, now I'll relate it and it will actually make perfect sense, is because the past is like the earth, and the earth is going to be on a flat plane. And so anytime that the sun actually tries to reach the earth, it's going to take the light and it's going to put it on a direct plane, which means that it will always come from a linear direction of making sense. But like I said, we can see with our own eyes that the sun is perfectly round. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so what that means is that the light is coming from every direction possible, which means that it has done every single action in reality.
I don't know why you went like this.
Because that disproves the fact that there's death. Because the light has done every single thing in reality. It's pure consciousness.
Well, because the light comes from every
direction. So you can't die because it is the consciousness, because the light comes from every direction possible.
Whoa, man. That's not legitimate.
It's pure fact, dude.
Dude, what are you talking about? The light rays from the sun, they're coming from,
the light goes in every direction in existence of
every surface that we can see. The light is
Oh,
coming.
the light goes in every direction
Therefore,
possible through time and all existence.
There's
nothing you can do.
Coming. Okay, well, I don't understand what you're saying, because the light is, every surface of the sun is, the big ball.
And all I'm saying is that if you can, basically anybody going around the planet, anybody going around on the planet thinking that they have to do anything, if you can take them through this stepwise process.
What is your stepwise process? Saying
naturally leading shut up, dude. Naturally leading the conversation to a conversation of life and death. If you can naturally lead the conversation to a conversation of life and death, you can always disprove everybody's reality, which is another irony. You can disprove their reality.
If you lead the conversation naturally to a conversation of life or death, you can disprove anybody's reality.
Yes, because why are they doing what they're doing?
Because
If
it
they
makes
can do
them
any, if they can do anything,
happiness.
if they can do
Brings them
anything,
joy.
there's always greater happiness. So why are they doing what they're doing?
All
Well,
they're doing-
why don't they just go and why don't they just go to what's the most primitive way of someone that's so primitive that I just imagine like what the most primitive person that I'm trying to like explain this to, what their most easily accessible form of happiness is if they're like extremely so primitive, then why don't they just go and walk away from whatever they're doing and find a private place and draw a picture of a woman and masturbate?
That's dumb, because
I just tried to give
that's that's not a form of thing that a lot of people find joy out of.
because I just give the most basic example. Sure, if you
That's
have
maybe
the ability,
anything that-
if you have a gun, then go to a bank and rob a bank.
Well, that's not something that most people would probably find enjoyable either. But some people may, but probably not. So
Go steal a car.
I feel like that's another.
If you're
thing
rich, go on
people
vacation.
really-
If you're rich, just leave on going. If you're rich, just go leave on vacation. If you have money, just go somewhere.
Yeah, vacation's fun. I think a lot of people, most people, if not all people, love vacation.
I mean, but for heaven's sake, why the hell are you doing a 9 to 5 anyway? Out of no questions asked about that. Like, I'll just say that. Like, sure, we can postulate about people with the most minimal form of assets going into a cave and drawing a picture of a cave woman and masturbating to it, to someone who actually does have money, to getting off their ass and going on a vacation of their life, to everybody in between that has a 9 to 5, to just saying like, why the hell are you doing this when you could be doing
They
anything?
enjoy a lot of the.
Because if you can disprove
things in
death,
their
why
life.
would they have fear to not actually go out and do what they enjoy?
Maybe they're working towards finding, crescendo of, things that are bringing them more and more joy all the time in their life. I think that's most people. They have goals. They probably have. Like, that's my experience. Like, I love the stuff I'm doing. I like school and stuff.
I
but
feel like
I'm working
actually,
hard
though-
towards it, and I'm excited to get a job where I do a 9 to 5, maybe a little bit more, maybe a 9 to 7 some days. But I'm really excited for the work to learn and to grow, but then also the experiences that I'm going to.
So you're saying you'd rather do that than, if I could say that permanently, you could get away with going and walking into a pawn shop and you're the pawn owner is not looking, you can steal a gun, you can steal all the ammunition, you can go to a bank, you can
I could do
you
that.
can-
I have a gun right over here.
you can rob the bank.
I have multiple guns.
You're telling me that you'd rather go do 9 to 5 junk. And if I tell you that there's any possible reality,
Steal a bank.
I'm telling you,
Like,
you're not letting me finish my story. You're not letting me finish my story.
or having just.
You're not letting me finish.
money.
You're not letting me finish my story.
Finish your story.
My story is you're telling me that you'd rather do 9 to 5 for the rest of your life. You already sound like you're dead. I need to prove life to you. You'd rather do 9 to 5 for the next 50 years and have all your money taken away from you. All this great stuff that actually does exist in the world. You'll never be able to attain any of it. But I'm telling you, since all future realities are possible, you can go, you can steal a gun, you have a gun, great. But if you don't, you can steal a gun from the pawn shop, you can steal a bunch of ammunition, you can walk into the bank, maybe you don't even need to use the gun. You can walk in there, you can walk into the bank, you can take out $5 million, go anywhere in the world and live there for the rest of your life and don't have to do jack squat for whatever this whole 9 to 5 junk is. Because basically, if someone is telling me that they'd rather do that than what I just explained, then they've already proven to me that they are dead.
So
They are
things.
dead.
2 things. I'm odd. I'm a different type of person.
They're
Because-
dead, dude. They're the
Well,
definition
well,
of
let
death.
Let me tell you 2 things. I'm kind of a different type of person because I know I'll have plenty of money to do whatever I want with, but I still don't ever want to retire because I really like.
Yeah, but what is retirement? You should
No,
just be able to do what you
retirement
love.
Meaning, well, I guess that's what I mean. I want the thing that I love is.
Then I would just
Work.
almost say, dude, I don't believe
but
in
hey,
you.
That's different.
I know, man.
I really want to like go and travel around and like consult, businesses and governments and individuals that are leaders, like to help them be more successful. Like I'm really excited to do that, and I feel like I'm going to have so much fulfillment, and I'm also going to make a lot of money. But I'm just really fortunate that what I like want to do for my career, it lines up really well with the stuff that I enjoy.
It's cool.
Okay, but anyway.
Yeah, it's cool,
other
but
people are different though.
That's cool,
people
Weston.
are like what you're saying.
It's good
most
for you.
people would just prefer have the money, probably without the work.
I know, and I'm gonna interspar in another irony with my reality because
most women probably
I'm just
prefer the money without the work. But the thing is, what you're saying is not possible. You can't.
In theory, it's true.
There's no.
In theory, it's true.
Without work.
In theory, it's true. All I can say
All I can say
is this.
Totally
I
false.
don't agree with you, dude.
And death is
Weston,
reality.
I 100% at this point in time, dude. I might almost be able to say like I don't believe in you,
Okay.
like because, dude, the work that I do for how much I don't even gain, man, literally is like just torture. It's pure suffering. It's pure torture, and it's just like anytime I hear about anybody that, actually is enjoying their reality for the work that they do, for the money that they get, it makes me feel like that's not real. It makes me feel like the light is playing tricks on my eyes because it makes me feel like there is no way, like I've tried everything in this world. I've tried doing so much stuff to actually live a genuine life.
Try everything. Have you tried
Weston,
being a
I've
management
gotten good
consultant?
grades.
You haven't tried being a management consultant. Have you tried
Weston, I've applied for like
There's
300
so
jobs.
many
I've
things
applied for like
to
300
try.
jobs. I've gotten
I know,
the
but you
best
haven't
grades.
done
And now
those
all of a
things.
sudden, nothing makes sense. I go to work and it's like all the people around me, I'm like, am I the only one lifting up all this stuff? I can't even believe stuff that's almost like 10 feet away from me. I'm like, there's no way in hell that you guys, like, looking at your physique here, are doing the work that I'm doing. Like, there's no way in hell. And I'm literally to that point of denial or disbelief of my reality that it's literally like, dude, and trust me, man, I want to believe everybody is happy, dude. And like everything like that. Okay,
happy.
but literally I am to the point of where it's like I almost do live in pure denial. Just because it's like I've had so many bad things go wrong to me, dude. I've been abducted and stuff, dude.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, but you gotta.
All right.
If you want anything to change, man, you gotta learn from the past. Like you were saying, the past did happen. You gotta learn from it and try to make the future better.
This is
good grades in the past, but you're not getting good grades right now. You gotta finish school, and then you can actually choose.
I'm gonna go walk
careers.
into the bank, and no one's gonna be looking. And for whatever reason, it's gonna be perfect timing, and I'm gonna walk into the vault, and they're gonna have a bag of $50 million in there, and I'm gonna grab it and walk out and walk away, and no one's gonna know anything for whatever fluke of a reason that there is in this existence. But I'm gonna back it up by my saying about the ironies of the sun and the earth, and I'm gonna go live wherever I want for as long as I want.
I hope you don't try that.
And if I could do that,
It's
would I
okay.
do that? Yes.
You're smart enough to know that would work, so it's good. Anyway, I don't want to feel like I'm trying to
No, it's
lecture you or something.
No, it's fine, man. I just have honestly just like so much animosity of this against this world because literally I just feel totally cheated. I feel totally cheated.
Stop fighting. You still have.
Yeah,
so
so
many
okay, stop fighting.
decades
So I'm just not
of
going to
life.
go do anything then.
No.
I'm just going to do whatever I
Just
want here at the house and not fight.
Stop the contention and start,
Doing what everyone tells me to do? Well, when does that stop?
Yes.
When does that end, dude? Doing what everyone tells me to do before I'm picking up shit all over the place, dude. I don't want to have that as my reality. Why does this reality exist?
Nobody told me to scoop
Why does this reality
I did
exist?
that myself.
Why does this reality exist where some people, dude, live in such fucking glamorous existences and I have to live in shit, bro? Why?
Yeah. You can improve.
Is
your
that my fault?
circumstance.
Is that my fault?
Jessica over there is living a pretty
Oh,
good
yeah.
life.
My fault. It's all my fault, dude.
It is.
It's my fault.
Your fault.
It's my fault that all those people have way more than me, dude. It's all my fault, man.
That's not your fault that someone has more than you, but you do have the power to be able to. You have plenty of power to have just as much as anyone else does. So
It's okay. It's okay.
You have the power, bro.
I've been to great places.
You could have a lot more than you do right now.
Hey, I have everything. I don't have any inadequacies. I don't have any inadequacies.
The last 9 years, if you made different decisions,
I can go anywhere. I just don't want to go
You would
anywhere.
have a lot better circumstances right now.
I can go anywhere. I don't want to go anywhere. I could have any job. I don't want any job. I want to be where I'm at. I actually don't want to live anywhere else than here because I can go anywhere. I have all the money in the world. I can have any relationship that I want.
I'm just saying, you don't want to be us having the same conversation in 10 years. Because it'll be even more sad.
You know what the funny thing is basically the world just comes to the fact of whether or not you are willing to get fat or not. If you can get fat and be happy.
I'm not fat. Dad's not fat. Mom's not fat. Jessica's not fat. RAC's petted on some pounds. Brandon's not fat. Bree's not fat. We're all doing pretty well.
Dude,
it's not about getting fat. Stop using that analogy. I know you have some thick coworkers. Who cares? Just because someone has more, pounds than you doesn't mean they're inferior to you at all. Doesn't mean they're inferior. They may be like me, who never goes to the gym and doesn't ever care about what they eat, but they have poor metabolism, and so they just put on weight. I am very lucky that I have good metabolism.
This has been a great. I'm glad that both of us have everything that we want. I'm glad that both of us are at peace.
Bro, we don't want to have this conversation in 10 years, man.
I'm glad that.
Dog. But so, dude, make it happen.
I don't really give a shit what happens. I could
Dude,
die
you
right now.
do, bro.
I could die right now and I don't give a shit.
Dude,
I could die right now and I do not give a shit.
bro.
I could die right now and I do not
you
give a
say that
shit.
right now?
Yeah, I
But
say it
you
right now because it
care.
is true right
No,
now.
it's not.
I could die right now and I do not give a shit. Kill me. Something fucking kill me right now. I don't care.
I'm hopeless, bro. Come on. You can just change your freaking decisions, and man, you could be so nice, bro.
We're all at peace. Everybody has love. Everybody loves everybody. Some people have the sexiest of wives, and some people don't have any wives. Some people have lots of money. Some people don't. Some people can't read. Some people can. Some people can build crazy things, and some people basically watch TV all day long. Some people,
I like this.
hey, but you know what?
My language.
But you know what? You and me, we're like, we have everything we want, but what we actually have is the ability to never give up.
Good,
That's
let's
what
not give up.
That's what we actually
I
have.
agree. Let's not give up. Let's not give up.
We just
Actually
we have
pursue
the ability
the
to,
things that
and
we
it
want
will
and
always
love.
be like that. It will always be like that. We have the ability to never give up. I'd like to thank you for being on this podcast here. It's been a great one.
You've been recording this?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. This will be good for the memory banks.
This is a good one. We're signing off. Is there anything else you want to tell the people that you're doing or anything like that?
So what's going on in your life? It's like hot ones. No.
Yeah, I'm the pepper. I'm the hot sauce over here.
Yeah, you're what's his face, Chris or whatever his name is.
I told you I'm the hot sauce.
Oh man, everything's so good, man. I'm so lucky. So lucky to just have such a good family, have so many incredible friends. I am have more than I ever deserved. I'm so grateful for my life. It's pretty wonderful. So that's all I want to tell the people is, man, I feel very fortunate to have these circumstances, man. But all's good.
And I love everything, and I love God more than anything.
And Bob Hope.
And Bob Hope, signing off.